Good evening and welcome to the first proper FFW podcast of the new League season. Joining me, he's been allowed out of the conservatory into the kitchen. It's Rich Allen. Hi, Rich.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, actually. Yes, bit by bit, I'm making my way into this house until my own internet's back. So fun and games.
I know when parents get rid of their kids, usually they let them back in there and again. Also on this evening, we've got Jeremy Smith. Hi, Jez.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well, very well. So let's get straight into it. We're going to try a different format for this season, a bit shorter, a bit snappy. We're going to look at three of the biggest talking points from this week. Look forward to next week and a little bits in between. Sadly, there's only one place we can start this week. If Jess had some kind of little trumpet, I'm sure we'd be doing a with Metz's. I'm trying not to be bitter. A 3-2 win over Lille on Saturday, and I suppose there was two main headlines for me, Jez. One, I suppose, it is the two goals of Mevlut Erding, the big summer signing, the guy who's going to get you the goals to keep you up. We'll get back to that in a second, but I think for me the biggest thing to take away with this game, apart from the dodgy penalties, which we won't get into because that's probably half an hour in itself, I think it was the impact that your young players had off the bench, Sarr and Diallo. Because in contrast, we brought on Ryan Mendes and Rio Mavuba, two very different strategies. And your guys just seem to have had that sort of that youthfulness, the fearlessness. They went for it. They won the penalties, and we put it in brackets. And he's got a home victory. He must be really pleased with the way the conveyor belt keeps picking at these guys, and they keep coming on and doing really well.
Yeah, I think I said last week that one of my concerns with Metz is just how inexperienced the bench is. But certainly on Saturday's showing, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, having sort of youthful exuberance, no fear. It's not if they can be used as sort of impact subs rather than, I mean, we'll see how the season goes. It might be a different thing if they're starting matches, but as impact subs, certainly Sarr and Diallo. Diallo had a great end to the season last season. I think he scored 9 in 18 games, and that really helped us make a late push for promotion. And Sarr is our latest addition from the Generation Foot partnership we've got.
Yeah.
They both look great, and Get as well, and also Bazin, who sort of within Metz circles, he's been talked about for a couple of years as one of the sort of next great things. He certainly wasn't meant to be near the first team yet, but because of the injuries, and Baliou, who was kind of covering left back, got injured during the match, he came on and he actually played a part in both goals. So yeah, at the moment it bodes well with that really good balance of the experienced players. Jouf, Coad and Erding had decent games, and then the young subs coming on and adding that extra something. It's a really positive start for us.
Well, I think, to be perfectly honest, I was really impressed by the way the senior players. I have my doubts over a couple of them. Perhaps Erding and Coad. Never any doubt over Jan Jouffer, of course.
Of course.
But really impressed with. I mean, I think Erding had quite a quiet first half, but ultimately, if he does nothing and then scores 2 goals, I think as a Metz fan, that's probably all you can expect from him.
Yeah, exactly. I think I actually, it was really frustrating me because he was getting a reasonable amount of the ball and not really doing much with it. And there are a couple of occasions in particular. There was one where he ended up with this. It was a kind of 2-on-1 break, and there was someone completely free on his left, I think Mole, and he just kept it himself and tried to beat one player too many. It was a bit annoying, and yeah, it was really frustrating me. But also from what I've heard from Metz fans who were there, they said that his work, his running off the ball, and taking defenders away from other players was brilliant. So even if he's not scoring, if he's using his nous and experience to bring other players into the game, then obviously that's great, as long as someone's putting the ball in the net, I guess.
Well, I heard an interesting fact actually about Erding, and whether this is true or not, I'm not going to lay claim to have delved into the full details of this, but no one currently in Ligue 1 scored more goals on the opening day than him.
Yeah, I saw that quote.
I think that was his seventh of across all the opening games that he's played. I thought that probably sums him up quite nicely.
It does. I mean, I don't know if that was reassuring or a bit scary because, like, looking back,
it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, it does sound right. That like everywhere he goes, I remember like when he went to Saint-Etienne, and we thought, oh, is this going to be the answer to all their problems? And no.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be happy for Jess, especially that obviously Metz kept believing. I mean, there's going to be question marks over the defence because both Follett and Milan got absolutely. They were nowhere for both goals. It's really simple bits of movement. Done these over, but the fact that he didn't give up, I suppose you can't give up on. If you give up on the home opening day, you're in for a long season. But they kept going and pushed, and I'm not going to say deserved the victory, but did well. That's all you're getting.
Yeah, I think certainly the first quarter, probably I wouldn't say the whole first half, certainly the first half hour, let's say. I think we gave you. I don't know if it was a case of giving you too much respect or simply just playing really badly, and I was a little worried, but I think we grew into the game, and I'd still take 17th all day long now, but I just think we look so much better.
So would I.
But I still think we look so much better equipped now than 2 years ago. So
especially people Erding, the question I was going to ask both of you is that, do you think he can get over 10 goals this season? It was a good start. He's a fifth of the way there already. Has he got it in him to have that as a 15-goal season?
I think that if he stays fit and plays the whole, plays in and out, week in, week out, then probably, certainly, we've got. So you might think so as well. If we've got a couple of quick wingers who are relatively quick to go down in the area and he's on penalty taker, that will help as well. But I think he's got the potential to, and I think for Messi's chances of staying up, it's extremely important that he does.
Because he got 10 for Rennes back in 2013, got 11 for Saint-Etienne the season after, and then it's like 8 and 4. And obviously he's half of that already. He's got 2 already, so he's got a chance. The last time he got 15 goals in the Ligue 1 season was in 2010 for Paris Saint-Germain. So it'd be a massive, massive return if he could get that, and he's giving himself a massive opportunity to do it. So a cracking start for Metz. The second point, we were going to cover Marseille, but fuck is that boring. so it will be a lot more exciting. I mean, we have to talk about Bordeaux because I suppose the 3-2 scoreline flatters Saint-Etienne quite a bit. Stunning attacking performance by Bordeaux, which good goals. Gaëtan Laborde, who apparently was on his way out until Gourvenec convinced him that he'd get minutes and paid him off for a really nice header. Malcolm's free kick was awesome. I mean, the feeling down there must be on cloud 9 at the moment.
It must be. I'm on cloud 9. I watched the Saint-Etienne game and thought, actually, crikey, that was entertaining. I think
not because of them, though.
I was going to say Bordeaux perhaps played a bigger part in that than Saint-Etienne.
Well, an entertaining Bordeaux game's been pretty rare the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, I think so actually. But really, really impressed with Bordeaux. They were 3 really good goals. Really like that the Roland goal. Crossfield ball. I think it was Thomas Touré, was it? To
Laborde.
It was Laborde. Yeah. Into Roland. I really like the goal. Really like the movement actually. It's been a long time since we've seen movement like that in a sort of attacking manner from Bordeaux. So positives. It's the start that Gourvenec definitely would have wanted. Almost letting it slip at the end, I think, will just prevent people getting too carried away. I still think there's work to be done. Still think there's food for thought, I suppose, isn't there, for Gourvenec? But certainly a very, very bright start.
I think we said last week that we were sort of slightly not concerned but surprised that Bordeaux let Crivelli go out on loan, but if Laporte carries on playing like he did at the weekend, then I don't think Crivelli will be missed too much. Just fantastic performance with a goal and, as you said, a brilliant assist. And definitely looks like a Gourvenek effect.
Apparently, he was definitely on his way out. I think he was looking to go, and he was at the last hour convinced to stay, which is looking like a genius stroke already by Gourvenek. Jez, where does your namesake, Mr. Jez Meneza, Jerry Menez, where does he fit in his team? So he came off the bench. Does it mean you play him on the wing? Do you play him through the middle? I mean, that balance of Toure and Malcolm and Roland and Laborde seemed to work well. I mean, who do you sort of drop out if you're going to start Menez in there?
Well, he's got the reputation, but it's bad luck that he was playing, he was fit. I don't know if the ear incident sort of set him back a little bit, but for whatever reason, Gourvenek didn't start with him, and as long as the players he's picking are performing well, then there's no reason why any of them deserve to be dropped, or why Gourvenek should think about dropping them. But again, with Menez,
then you get to the sort of the old PSG situation. If they're paying him top dollar wages, the people upstairs start thinking, well, we need to sell some shirts or get Menez on there to sort of bring in the casual fans who maybe want to go see Jerry Menez.
Yeah,
a little bit of pressure to get him on the pitch.
The main thing, obviously, would be to put Malcolm in the middle.
Hey.
Either way, Menez's experience, and we know about his ability. That's never been in question. It's always been the attitude. He's still a great player to have there, and I think he can. He's possibly the most. Can't think of the word now. I can only think of it in French. Polyvalent, but he can play in the centre. He can play in the wing. He can play up front. So versatile. That's the word. So
because Ray can play through the centre. I think Malcolm's more on the right. So it's a nice flexibility about them, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's been a while since we could say that about them. Going forward, that they've really got a choice of 5, 6. Really decent attacking players now, which bodes great for them and for the fans, because I still think it was a huge mistake having white seats in the ground, because it just highlights even more when it's empty.
We did that as well. It should be red seats, so it sort of masks in when people aren't there. Rich, is the Placio and Vada started in the middle? Obviously Toulon's not there yet. Is it a case of maybe playing Jeremy Toulon at centre back and sort of strengthen that up? Because that's maybe the weakest where they are. Nicolas Palois is an absolute wall legend, love him, but beside him, I'm not convinced that Guibert is a centre back at all. Would Toulon fit quite nicely into that back four?
I think he would. Yeah, I think you would perhaps then just worry about perhaps movement. With those two, with Palois and Toulon.
It's never bothered Sylvain Armand, has it?
Well, don't get me started. We wanted a brief, snappy podcast, didn't we? There is a case, because I thought that Werder and most people really like Placé. He's such a very, very underrated player. But I think playing with those two together, it gives them the sort of tenacity from Placé. It gives them the sort of bite, if you like, from Werder, and the creativity that he can bring. So there's plenty, I think, that can be offered by that. And Toulon he may be needed to be called into playing centre back. We'll see. But I think it was like letting slip 2 goals, whether it was just a concentration thing or not, whether it was just perhaps Gilbert with a little bit of inexperience maybe, but it's positive for Bordeaux.
I think they were actually quite lucky at the end. That I think Pajot had a pretty good chance to even steal a point at the end of it, and it was lucky for them that, as I've said before, I don't think Pajot is a footballer. But I mean, in a way, I'm sure Bordeaux fans who are nervy at the end won't agree with it, but 3-2 it's a perfect start. They're not going to get carried away with themselves. They still had, a lot more entertainment there than they've had in quite a while. 5-goal thriller, which is always fun as long as you're the winning end of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I think it's well set up now for them to have a decent season. Again, we were saying relatively similar things right at the start of Sanyol's tenure. But
well, I don't think you were, Jay. I think you were always the
I was.
Sanyol. And proven right ultimately.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've made it clear what I think of Gourvenek, so I really hope he does a good job.
You're on the line now, James.
The most underrated manager in Ligue 1.
Oh, there we go. It's been said. Perhaps just one quick thing I think on Saint-Etienne. I think defensively all over the shop. I think all 3 goals. Admittedly, free kick you can't necessarily defend, but it was relatively cheap free kick to give away. But all 3 goals, defensive mistakes, which for a Saint-Etienne side is not the most characteristic of things. They normally rely on that defence. Defence is probably one of the key reasons that they've been so successful recently. So to have conceded certainly the first 2 goals so cheaply, I think perhaps gives Galtier some cause for concern.
Yeah, it was a bit shocking to see Perrin out-jumped by a kid for the first goal, I thought. And yeah, if you kind of think if Saint-Etienne's defence goes, then you worry for Galtier because you usually don't expect them to score more than one a game basically. Although tonight they won in the Europa League 2-1 away, so maybe this is going to be a whole new exciting free scoring Saint-Etienne, but I'm not absolutely convinced about that.
I think hold judgment on that. I think.
Yeah. Going on to Saint-Etienne's big rivals, the other sort of big news headline of the weekend, I guess, was Lacazette's hat-trick against Nancy. I think Lyon sort of not rode their luck because Nancy didn't really come up with that many clear-cut chances, but certainly Nancy had more of the ball the first half hour, and then led by Lacazette, Lyon sort of ran away with it.
Yeah, I thought they sort of did enough. They weren't exceptional. I think they relied. I think certainly first half, opening half an hour, I think they relied a little bit on Nancy finding their feet in the first game back in the top flight. It was enough. I don't think it's nothing to make you think, oh crikey, they're going to challenge PSG for the title. But competent display, 3-0, can't really complain. Goal scorer who was supposedly nailed on to be leaving scores 3 goals, looks absolutely dead set on his love for the club. I think my concern for Nancy was just. I just worry about their. I think I tweeted this actually during the match. Their composure, both at the back and then in the final third as well. They weren't. They perhaps weren't particularly organised for. I think you can't really count the third goal. That was game over by them. But first 2 goals weren't particularly organised defensively. Very bad mistake to let in Lacazette for the second from an inadvertent, shall we say, Lopez assist. I don't think he'd be claiming he certainly meant an assist there, but
no, definitely not.
Just makes me. I thought Nancy were actually going to be relatively okay. It's certainly put the fear amongst me. So what it's done for the Nancy players and the Nancy supporters, I don't know, but it was a professional performance from Lyon. 3 decent goals. Can't really ask for a lot more from them. I think certainly Nancy will just have to show, I think, a degree of maturity, I think, in putting this result behind them. It was a game they were never going to win, I don't think. It's probably one of the most informed teams if you count form towards the end of last season. So to come away 3-0, they can't let that affect them going into their next game, which conveniently is away to us.
I think that I I agree with you that of the three promoted teams, I actually thought Nancy were going to be the ones that would probably find it most comfortable, and not just because they won League 2 last year, but just from the football they played last year, I thought they're the ones that would be able to adapt the easiest and actually have rather than physicality, just relying on the physicality, also having decent ball playing. Certainly midfielders, even defenders, but I worry that I'm not sure that at the moment that the strike force is really up to it. That's my concern. And yeah, as you said, the third goal doesn't really count. The first one, I mean, it's slightly unlucky from their point of view, ricochet, but the second one was terrible. And then on the other side, and you're right, it's hard to judge Lyon based on this game, but compared to the PSG match, not that I'm comparing sort of Di Maria to Dale or anything like that, but I thought they looked so much more assured. Certainly, Nkulu and Yang Ambiwa looks a lot better in the middle, and I don't know if they can carry on at that level. Then, yeah, I'm still not sure about a proper challenge, but certainly, for me, they're still favourites to finish second, I think. What did you think of Fekir? Because there's been a lot of talk, and Andy Brassel wrote a great article about it this week about whether if Genesio sticks with his 4-3-3 rather, it doesn't really make necessarily the best use of Fekir, and certainly the sort of partnership between Fekir and Lacazette.
I agree in so much as I don't think it does get the best out of Fekir. I actually thought, bearing in mind, I still think we have to give him the benefit of the doubt in that he's going to be still going to be rusty. I think an injury like that takes a heck of a long time to get over. I thought he had a fairly decent game. It was a nice run on the ball to sort of start the move that led to the opening goal. Beat a couple of players, showed actually some pretty good strength, I think, as well, to tee up Dardere, which eventually led to the Lacazette goal. I'm going to be interested to see if he does stick with this 4-3-3. I think personnel-wise, it probably slightly more. The squad, I think, slightly more it fits a 4-3-3 slightly better. It goes back to that question that we posed, I think, in the summer with Pogba as well. Do you play something that a formation that's better for the team, but perhaps limits the impact of one of your better players? Or do you play a formation that gets the best out of your best player, but perhaps then it doesn't fit the rest of the squad as well? So I think next few weeks will be interesting to see how long if he does stick with that, and how Fekir can perhaps adapt to that as well, which will show how much he's come on as a footballer.
Yeah, I think the end of the second half of last season, Gezal was kind of thrived on the right side of that 4-3-3. So I think a lot may depend on what happens with him. He was dropped to the reserve team and then sort of pulled out, and I personally don't believe for a second that he was injured, and clearly he wants out, but if he does end up staying, presumably at some point he'll have to be brought back into the team. And I don't know, I think when he started, I liked him as a proper traditional winger, and to have him on the wing as well as Fekir and Lacazette in the centre could be interesting. But if not, and they're sticking with the 4-3-3, then you get the impression they're going to be stepping on each other's toes. I'm not sure there's enough room for the two of them, Lacazette and Cornet, in the same team. So I don't know, it's one to look out for.
It is. Then obviously the other player in the attacking trio was Cornet, who perhaps showed the rawness that he has, in so much as full of running, full of energy, not quite the finished article. I think he certainly had one very clear one-on-one chance that really should have been a goal.
It was a great pass by Lacazette, I think.
It was, yeah. In on goal, and fluffed the shot, really. Way too close to the goalkeeper. So I think, for perfectly honest, I do prefer Cornet out wide. I think they can use his energy, use his pace, use that sort of desire to beat his man out wide, to then cut in, and if he wants to have a shot. But playing him up front, you're relying on him to be a consistent goal scorer, which I don't quite think he is yet.
Yeah. I think talking of Cornet, just to let you know, by the way, I think Andrew's having technical problems. That's why it's just the two of us at the moment. But in memory of departed Andrew, he's got a really good idea for a new slot for this season, which is Young Player of the Week. Obviously, Ligue 1, partly just because of very good youth academies, and partly because we keep getting pillaged by the Premier League, among others, producing a lot of good youth. So, and already the first week, a lot of youngsters kind of lifted their head above the parapet. So we thought we'd talk about a couple who stood out. And I know you've got one who stood out in the Rennes match.
Yes, Malang Sarr. So I'm not going to profess I know anything about him. He's a 17-year-old defender making his debut. To touch on the very serious and very sound, it was a very emotional game. The tributes before the game, during the game, after the game were a great honour for, and certainly well done by Nice. And then to get let's move on to the game. We don't want to focus too much on the sad news. We've covered that. So Malang Sarr, 17-year-old centre back, making his debut. I'm not going to dwell on Rennes because, again, we want to keep this brief. But he's a local kid, born in Nice. On his debut, the emotions running beyond high, of everything that's happened, puts in a really good defensive performance, because Rennes actually going forward weren't too bad. There were plenty of shots on target, plenty of attacking threat, but next to Paul Bass was absolutely fantastic. The two of them in defence looked really, really solid, and then pops up with the winning goal. 17 years old to do all that in such an occasion, it shows a lot of character, and perhaps very early stage to be saying, but someone to keep an eye out on.
I was for my pick, I was torn between Laborde, who we've already spoken to, and any number of young Metz players who had a storming game. And as Andrew's not here, I can now say that, of course, both of them were nailed on penalties. But when we were hanging on at one point, Didion, who's in the 50s, and was a Toulon tournament winner last week, so we've already last year rather. So we've already marked him out as a real young talent. Pulled off a couple of great saves, but I have to agree with you and also Andrew, who picks Sarr. I think it's hard to look past him just because of the occasion and everything. I think he's got to be our first young player of the week, I think. Going on to next week's fixtures, we're going to have a quick look at a couple of them before we go. Are there any that stand out for you that you're particularly looking forward to?
I think you probably have to look at the Friday night fixture, Lyon v Caen. Both had very good opening day wins. Lyon obviously protecting quite a very good record at Parc OL, so it'd be good to see them in front of their home crowd for the first time this season. But I was actually quite impressed with Caen in their opening win, 3-2 against Lorient. They went 2 goals down very, very quickly, and although Lorient had a man sent off, also in the first half, I believe, fought back. And this is obviously all without Andy Delors, who I think actually I read today he's finally come back to training after all his histrionics that have gone on over the summer with he wants a move, but he's not going to be getting the move. But we're very, very impressed with Ivan Santini. So again, a player I knew very little of, but was a summer signing. 2 goals on debut, including an 87th minute winner. Perfect result for Caen. So I think they're a side that so many people like. Patrice Caron seems to be getting the best out of some, should we say, average average players. He's getting such a good performance week after week. It seems from Ronnie Rodelan, who scored another goal to go with his, I think 10 or 11 goals he scored last season.
Yeah, it was a decent finish as well, I thought.
Yeah, it was. So I'm looking forward to that. I think there's good attacking play from both sides.
I saw a tweet saying after the match saying Andy Delors has gone to have another teardrop tattooed under his eye, seeing Saint-Etienne's performance.
I saw that. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. How about yourself?
I think another intriguing one is Guingamp playing Marseille on the Sunday. We're not going to, as Andrew said earlier, we're not going to dwell too much on Marseille, but it did feel a little bit kind of carrying on where they left off last year, with a sort of slightly dour 0-0 at home to a not exactly brilliant Toulouse. But as Passy said, there's been a massive change of personnel at Marseille, so maybe they deserve a couple of weeks grace. But Guingamp have also had a bit of a turnaround, obviously, certainly on the bench, and they look pretty bright against Monaco, I thought. And to go 2-0 up away, even at Louis II, where Monaco don't always have the greatest record, was still impressive. And it actually took a sort of freak Mbappe injury and Silva coming on to turn the game. But I thought Guingamp looked really bright, and whereas maybe before last week Marseille might have looked at that thinking, that's a pretty good time to go to Guingamp. I'm not sure they'll be as confident now.
Confidence and Marseille are two words that perhaps we won't be putting together. But no, I think that should be a good game as well. And if you haven't already checked it out, I think I would also recommend checking out Mustafa Diallo's goal for Guingamp as well. Probably
that's fantastic.
Goal of the weekend, if only for the lump cross field from Jimmy Briand, just hoofing it halfway across the pitch. But the control and finish from Diallo was fantastic.
It's definitely one of those ones where you could say, like, try that 99 more times, it won't go in once.
No, I don't think so.
All right, I think we're going to leave it there and try to find Andrew somewhere in the ether. Keep an eye out on the website, on Twitter. We'll be trying to keep you updated with all the scores over the weekend, starting with Lyon on Friday evening and finishing with PSG against Metz. God knows how that's going to finish. I'm already scared. Well, it would be lovely if we're talking about great performances by Metz's youngsters next week, but I'll believe it when I see it. But till then, thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.